Ambassador Krell of the Zilari Empire sat in the high chamber of the Galactic Council, his long arms folded across his chest. His eyes stayed fixed on the large empty chair at the end of the row. That chair once belonged to the humans. It had been empty for 3 weeks now. No message, no reason, nothing. One day the humans were there, speaking, helping, warning, laughing. Then they were gone, not just from the council, but from everywhere. At first, no one noticed. Humans were known to take breaks, to go silent for days. But as more days passed, questions started rising. Their embassies on other planets were closed. No trade ships arrived. No replies came to any messages. Some tried to contact Earth directly, but even Earth did not respond. Satellites showed the planet still spinning, lights still on, but nothing came out. No sound, no signal. It was as if they had all agreed to stop talking at the same time. Other species started to worry. The humans were strange, yes, but also powerful. They had been part of the council for only 200 years, but their speed, their fire, their ideas, they changed everything. Wars stopped when humans spoke. Peace deals happened faster when humans were near. Their presence made enemies nervous and allies calm. But now, without a word, they had vanished. Krell leaned closer to his assistant and whispered, "Something is wrong." His assistant, a younger Zilari with bright silver skin, nodded nervously. They would not leave like this. Not the humans. Krell looked around the chamber. The others were nervous too. The Yilani kept tapping their claws on the table. The Fros kept scanning for messages. The Duranian elder kept looking at the clock, as if waiting for the humans to walk in late with a joke. Finally, the lights dimmed, and the high speaker of the council stood up. She was from the Otran species, her long neck stretching high above the others. Her voice was calm but serious. "We are calling an emergency meeting. Council members from the oldest families will stay. The rest may leave." Confused whispers filled the air. Only the oldest members. That meant only the founders of the council, those who had been part of it long before the humans arrived. Krell was one of them. He stood as the others left the room. When the doors closed, the lights turned red. A hidden panel opened in the center of the table. A very old data crystal rose slowly from inside. It had dust on it. No one had touched it for a long, long time. The high speaker placed the crystal into the reader. A voice filled the room. Not human. Older. Robotic. Cold. "This file contains protocol silence. It was given to us by the humans 173 years ago, to be used only if humans disappear from all known systems at the same time." Everyone leaned forward. The voice continued. "The humans told us, if they ever go completely silent without reason, it means one thing. They have found a threat too large for discussion, too dangerous for warning. They will stop talking and start preparing. And we should do the same." Krell felt a chill in his bones. He remembered when the humans first joined the council. They were loud, curious, always asking questions. They made friends quickly, but also scared others with how fast they learned, how fast they built, and how hard they fought when needed. He remembered hearing stories about Earth's early wars, about how humans had destroyed great threats with strange weapons and clever ideas, but also about how they kept their worst plans hidden, only used when the world was truly at risk. Now they had all gone silent, together, at the same time. The high speaker looked around the room. "We do not know what this threat is, but the humans gave us this protocol for a reason. They did not ask us to help them. They did not tell us to fight. They only warned us. If they go silent, prepare for something terrible." Another ambassador, old and wise, whispered, "What could scare humans so much that they stopped speaking?" No one answered. The chamber fell quiet again. The only sound was the soft hum of the data crystal. Krell looked once more at the empty human chair. It stood alone, untouched, waiting. Something was coming. Something only the humans had seen. And whatever it was big enough to make the most dangerous species in the galaxy go quiet. The silence of humans was not peace. It was a warning. The silence continued to grow across the galaxy. Weeks passed without any sign of the humans, and the galaxy's leaders were becoming more and more uneasy. Ambassador Krell of the Zilari Empire couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was coming, something far beyond anyone's understanding. The Council's emergency meeting had ended, but the air still felt thick with fear. As Krell sat in his private quarters, his thoughts drifted back to the strange data crystal the humans had left behind. It had been locked away in the deepest vaults of the Council archives, untouched for nearly 2 centuries. Only the oldest members knew about it, and now they were the only ones with access. Protocol silence, Krell muttered to himself. The words echoed in his mind. The humans had warned them, given them a secret file meant only for the darkest times. What could possibly be bad enough to make the humans stop communicating altogether? The following day, the Council called another emergency meeting. This time, it wasn't just the oldest members. Every species, every leader, every ambassador was present. Even the Yilani, who usually kept to themselves, were in the chamber, their sharp eyes watching every movement. The High Speaker stood once again, her voice steady but grave. We have unlocked the remaining parts of Protocol Silence. It is worse than we feared. The holographic projector hummed, and a new file appeared. It wasn't a message from the humans, but a detailed report. An old one, dating back to the early years of human exploration. The High Speaker began reading aloud. The humans have known about something for a long time, something they've never shared with the Council or anyone else. This thing, whatever it is, has the power to destroy entire star systems. It can wipe out civilizations without leaving a trace, and the humans have been watching it grow. A murmur of disbelief spread through the room. Krell couldn't believe his ears. The humans had known about this threat all along. They had kept it a secret, even from their closest allies. What kind of danger could possibly be so powerful that they had to keep it hidden? The High Speaker continued, her voice shaking slightly. The file does not give us the details of what this threat is, but it mentions something called the Void. This void seems to be spreading slowly, swallowing stars and planets in its path. The humans believe it is alive, an entity of unknown origin, something far older than any of the species in this room. Krell leaned forward, his mind racing. But why would the humans go silent? Why not warn us? That is the key, the High Speaker replied. The humans didn't go silent because they were afraid of the void. They went silent because they know it is coming, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop it. They have prepared for it, but only they know how. The room was silent. The thought of something so terrible, something that could destroy entire star systems, was hard to process. But what was worse was that the humans had kept this knowledge hidden. They had kept it secret, even when they could have warned the Council. The mystery deepened. We must ask the humans what they know, a Duranian elder said, his voice filled with urgency. We cannot sit idly by while this threat looms over us. We need answers. Another ambassador, a young and fiery member of the Frost species, shook his head. They won't answer. They never wanted us to know. The protocol was clear. If they go silent, it's because the threat is too great for anyone else to understand. They are dealing with it themselves. Krell felt a sinking feeling in his chest. He had been hoping that the humans would come back, that they would somehow explain everything. But now it was clear that they had their own reasons for keeping quiet. They were preparing for something they couldn't share. The High Speaker took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the room. The humans gave us one final warning, she said. If they disappear again, if they go silent once more, then we must be ready. We must prepare ourselves, because it will mean that the void is coming. Krell's mind raced. The void. The name alone made his skin crawl. He had never heard of anything like it before, but the way the High Speaker spoke about it, It was clear that this was not something the galaxy could ignore. The meeting ended with no answers, only more questions. But Krell couldn't shake the thought that the humans knew something far worse than anyone had imagined. They had prepared for this. They were ready. And now, the rest of the galaxy had to figure out how to follow them, or risk being consumed by the void. As Krell left the chamber, he looked up at the stars through the large windows. The galaxy had always seemed so vast, so full of possibility. But now it felt empty, dangerous. The silence of the humans wasn't just a warning. It was a signal that something terrible was on the horizon, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. For weeks after the Council's emergency meetings, the galaxy held its breath. Every ambassador, every species, every leader knew that something was coming, but no one knew exactly what. The silence from the humans continued. Not a single message, not a single warning. The ships that had once filled the skies with bright lights and busy trade routes were now eerily still. Nothing moved. The Zilari Empire, known for its speed and sharp minds, began to grow nervous. Ambassador Krell couldn't sleep. He spent more time looking at the stars than in meetings. He had heard the rumors. Strange disappearances on the edges of space, entire colonies vanishing without a trace. Ships sent to investigate didn't return. Messages sent to far-flung stations were met with nothing but silence. It wasn't just the Zilari. Other species had felt it too. The Yilani, silent watchers in the dark, had seen shadows moving on their radar scans, shadows too large to be natural. The Fros, who specialized in communication, had tried to send out emergency signals, but their messages never reached their destination. Some spoke of whispers, voices that seemed to be carried on the wind, but they were too faint to understand. One of the most troubling reports came from the edge of the Duranian system. A mining colony on a remote planet had vanished. No signs of battle, no signs of life, just empty buildings and quiet ground. Krell was sent to investigate personally, his curiosity outweighing his fear. He had to know if there was a connection between these disappearances and the human silence. When Krell arrived at the colony, he was met with an eerie stillness. The air was cold, and the ground was covered with a thin layer of frost, even though the planet's temperature was far too warm for it. The buildings were untouched, yet there was no sign of any life. No workers, no equipment, nothing. It felt wrong. Something was out of place. Scan for any life signs. Krell ordered his assistant, a younger Zilari named Veril. Veril's eyes were wide with fear as he worked. Nothing. Ambassador. No signs of anyone. It's like they just disappeared. Krell's mind raced. The last report from the colony had spoken of strange shadows moving in the distance, things that couldn't be explained. The shadows grew larger each day. Some of the miners had mentioned seeing figures in the fog, but when they tried to approach, the figures were gone. Whatever had happened, it wasn't natural. Then, as they continued to search, they found something. Buried beneath the rubble of a collapsed building, Krell discovered a broken communications relay. It had been damaged, but it still held one last message, a recording, barely audible. It was a voice, distant and muffled, but still human. It's coming. We can't stop it. You have to prepare. The message cut off abruptly. No more words, just silence. Krell stood frozen. The message was clear. Whoever had been here knew what was coming. They had been trying to warn the rest of the galaxy, but now they were gone. The void had claimed them. It was real, and it was here. Returning to the council, Krell delivered his report. The other ambassadors were silent as he spoke, their faces grim. The Yilani ambassador, Masha, spoke first. "You found no survivors?" she asked, her voice low. "None," Krell answered. "But there is no doubt now. The void is here, and it's spreading. We are not prepared for this." Another ambassador, the young Fraz representative, spoke up. The humans were the only ones who knew how to fight this threat. They prepared for it. But they did not tell us how. Why? Krell didn't have an answer. They all knew the humans had hidden something, but what? What kind of weapon or strategy could be so dangerous that they had to keep it a secret? The council was divided. Some argued that they needed to go to Earth, force the humans to reveal what they knew. Others said that would be foolish, that the humans had prepared alone for a reason. The Froze, as usual, were unsure. The Yilani were quiet, watching. Krell turned to the data the humans had left behind. The file about protocol silence. It didn't offer answers, only more questions. The humans had left behind nothing but warnings. It was clear now that the threat was real. The void was coming for them all. But what was it? A monster, a natural disaster, an alien force. The galaxy had no answers, only fear. Then, a strange thing happened. As Krell sat in the council chamber, staring at the empty human chair once again, a transmission came through. It wasn't from Earth, but from a ship, deep in the unknown regions of space. It was a human ship. The message was short, but it shook the room. We are hunting it. Do not try to find us. The void must be stopped. The transmission cut off as quickly as it had come. A few seconds. No details. No explanation. But it was enough. The humans were still out there. They were fighting something. And they didn't want anyone to interfere. Krell looked around the room at the worried faces of the other ambassadors. They all understood now. The void wasn't just some strange phenomenon. It was a threat that could wipe out everything. The humans had gone silent for a reason. They were fighting alone, preparing alone. But they were still out there. And if the void was as powerful as the humans feared, the rest of the galaxy would have to learn how to fight it too. The silence was deafening. For days, the galaxy waited, each species on edge, unsure of what was coming next. The humans had sent their warning, but it was brief and cryptic. We are hunting it. Those words echoed in Krell's mind as he stared out at the stars. What were they hunting? What was this void that had the humans so terrified? The more Krell thought about it, the less he understood. The council was in chaos. No one knew what to do. Some ambassadors argued that they should follow the humans, try to reach Earth and find out what they were planning. Others feared it was too late, that the void had already consumed everything in its path. And there were those who believed that it was not a physical threat at all, but something far worse, something that could destroy the very minds of those who encountered it. Krell felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. As an elder ambassador, he had seen many threats, many dangers, but nothing had prepared him for this. The galaxy was not ready for something like the void. The humans had always been the strongest, the ones who had saved them all from certain doom time and time again. Now, they were gone, silent, preparing for something that none of them could understand. The leaders of the council called for one last meeting. All the ambassadors gathered in the grand chamber, the air thick with tension. The Yilani were the first to speak. The humans have made their choice, Masha said, her voice calm yet filled with worry. They are hunting this void alone. We cannot follow them. We do not know what they face. The Frost ambassador nodded in agreement. We must focus on our own survival. If the void is as dangerous as the humans suggest, then we must fortify our defenses. We cannot risk everything on a hope that the humans will return with answers. Krell listened to the voices around him, each filled with fear and uncertainty. But deep down, he knew they were missing something. The humans hadn't gone silent for no reason. They had a plan. And if they had a plan, there was a chance, just a small one, that the rest of the galaxy could survive too. We cannot sit idle, Krell said finally, standing up. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to him. The humans may be hunting the void, but we must do more than wait. We must prepare. We must unite. If the void is real, and if it is coming, we cannot be divided. We must stand together. For the first time in weeks, the room was quiet. Krell's words seemed to hang in the air, like a heavy cloud. The other ambassadors were reluctant, but they understood. They had no choice. If the void was truly as dangerous as the humans had warned, then they needed to set aside their differences and prepare. The council agreed to form an emergency task force, a group of representatives from every species, each chosen for their strength and knowledge. Their goal was simple: to find out everything they could about the void and to prepare for the worst. Krell was appointed as the leader of the task force. He felt the weight of that responsibility more than ever. It wasn't just his people he had to protect now. It was the entire galaxy. For the next few days, the task force worked in secret. They reviewed everything they knew about the void, combing through old data and ancient texts. They spoke with every expert in the galaxy, every scientist, every strategist. But the more they learned, the more questions they had. The void was unlike anything anyone had ever encountered. It was not just a force of nature. It was something more, something that bent the very fabric of space and time. And then, in the midst of their search, a breakthrough came. A scientist from the Frost species, a brilliant but reclusive individual named Tessa, discovered an old artifact hidden deep in the archives. It was a piece of human technology, something that had been left behind, long before the humans went silent. The artifact was small, unassuming, but when Tessa activated it, a holographic map appeared. It showed the galaxy, but it was different. The stars were arranged in a pattern Krell had never seen before. And at the center of the map was a dark space, a void, a place where no stars existed. "This is it," Tessa said, her voice filled with awe. The void's origin. Krell looked at the map, his heart racing. The map showed the void moving, slowly expanding, its darkness creeping toward the center of the galaxy. And it was not just a natural phenomenon. It was being pulled, guided, as if by some force. The map also showed something else. A small blinking dot, far beyond the edges of the galaxy, far past the reach of any known space. It was faint, barely visible, but it was there. The humans had left this behind, this tiny beacon, this one last hope. "The humans are not gone," Krell said quietly. "They are still out there. They have found something, something that can stop the void." The task force worked day and night to prepare. They sent out ships to investigate the blinking beacon, hoping it would lead them to the humans, hoping they would find an answer before it was too late. The void was coming, but there was still hope. There was still time. And they would find the humans. They had to. The galaxy was on the edge. The stars were fading, and the dark shadow of the void was getting closer. Krell stood on the bridge of a ship, staring out into the endless space ahead. The task force had gathered everything they could, every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology. And now they were ready. But Krell knew that nothing could truly prepare them for what was coming. The map that had led them to the human beacon was now their only hope. Ships from every corner of the galaxy had been dispatched to follow it, racing against time to reach the coordinates before the void consumed everything in its path. Krell's ship was among the fastest, and they were getting closer with each passing hour. As the ship sped through the stars, Krell couldn't help but think of the humans. They had disappeared, leaving only cryptic warnings and strange technology behind. But the humans had been preparing for something like this. They had known the void was coming, and they had taken steps that now the rest of the galaxy had to follow. The journey wasn't easy. The closer they got to the coordinates, the more the void seemed to reach out. The stars flickered and dimmed. The space around them felt colder, emptier, as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. The ships that had gone ahead reported strange things. Shadows moving in the dark, whispers in the communication channels, signals that didn't make sense. "We're almost there," said Veril, Krell's assistant. His voice was tense, filled with fear. "Just a few more hours." Krell nodded, but his thoughts were far from comforting. The void wasn't just a threat to the galaxy. It was a threat to everything. To the stars, to life, to the very essence of the universe. and they had no idea what would happen when they reached the source. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they arrived. They'd reached the coordinates, and what they found was beyond anything Krell could have imagined. At the center of the dark space was a massive structure, a huge ancient vessel. It was unlike anything Krell had ever seen. It was not a ship, not a station, but something older, something alien. Its surface was smooth, like glass, and it seemed to hum with an energy that made the hair on the back of Krell's neck stand up. This was where the void was coming from. This was the source. But what was it? Who had built it? And why had the humans left it behind? "We need to go inside," Krell said. The decision was not an easy one, but there was no time to waste. They had to find the humans. They had to stop the void. A small group of soldiers, scientists, and engineers followed Krell as he boarded the strange vessel. The inside was even more alien than the outside. Endless corridors, walls that seemed to pulse with an unknown energy, and rooms that shifted as they moved through them. It was as if the ship itself was alive. As they walked deeper into the ship, Krell's heart began to race. They had been warned, but nothing could have prepared them for the fear that gripped him now. Every step they took seemed to bring them closer to the heart of the void, and the darkness surrounding them grew heavier. Then they found something. At the very core of the vessel, in a massive chamber, was a human. She was standing alone, her back to them, facing a large console. The figure was tall, wearing a long, dark coat. Her hair was dark, and her eyes glowed with a strange light, as if she had been exposed to something beyond the universe itself. It was her, the last human. "Ambassador Krell," she said, without turning around. Her voice was calm, but it was clear that she had been here for a long time. "You've come to help, haven't you?" Krell stepped forward, his heart pounding. "What is this? What is the void? What happened to the rest of your people?" She turned to face him then, and Krell saw the truth in her eyes. She had seen the end of everything. The void is not just a force of nature. It is alive. And it is ancient. It was born long before any of us, long before any of the civilizations in this galaxy. She paused, looking at the others with a sad smile. "The humans didn't disappear because we were afraid. We disappeared because we had to. The void cannot be stopped. It can only be contained." Krell was confused. Contained? How? "We've been preparing for this moment for centuries," she continued. "We built this ship, the one you're standing in. It's a containment vessel, a prison for the void. It has been sealed for millennia, keeping the void at bay. But we can't keep it sealed forever." She stepped aside, revealing a large control panel. The lights on the console flickered as she placed her hands on it. "The only way to stop the void is to give it something to consume, something that will keep it from spreading. The humans have been trying to send that energy for years. It's the reason we went silent. We sent everything we could. But now, it's too late." Krell's mind raced. The void wasn't something they could fight with weapons or strength. It was something that needed to be fed, contained by the very energy of the universe itself. The last human turned to him. "You need to help us. We can't stop it alone. Together, we can hold the void at bay. But it will take everything we have." Krell understood then. The galaxy was not just fighting for survival. It was fighting to contain something that could end everything. And the void had to be kept locked away, no matter the cost. The humans had left a plan. Now, it was up to the galaxy to follow it, to stop the void, and to survive.